winner by Jamal Crawford that wrapped up a physical and testy Game 3 Friday night here in Atlanta. Fans still making their way into Phillips Arena on this Easter Sunday as we get ready for the first of our TNT doubleheader. It is opening round best of 7. The Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. So the Hawks looking to take a 3-1 lead on the Magic. Orlando hoping to even the series at 2 apiece. Hi everybody, Marv Albert along with Steve Kerr will be joined in a moment by Craig Sager working the sideline. Let's check out the starting lineup presented by Budweiser for Orlando. Quentin Richardson will start for the suspended Jason Richardson, while Atlanta goes with the same starting lineup. Jason Collins playing with a lower back injury following that collision with Dwight Howard, and with Zaza Pachulia suspended for tonight's game. It'll be a combination of Collins along with Etan Thomas, Hilton Armstrong, and Al Horford dealing with Howard.
And more, Atlanta has controlled the series by playing Howard one-on-one and staying home with the Magic shooters. It's been enormously effective. The question tonight, as you mentioned, with Pachulia out, do they have enough bodies to employ this same strategy and stay home with Turkoglu and Richardson and the rest of these shooters?
And this has developed into a chippy series. The Hawks feel that Dwight Howard a bit too loose in using his elbows, particularly after the whistle. Stan Van Gundy does not like the flopping by the Hawks' big players. Jason Richardson, who got involved with Zaza Pachulia, says, I don't like him. And there are other harsh words thrown back and forth.
Well, the way both of these teams play, Marvin, it leads to kind of a chippy edge to this series. They're both very slow-paced in the way they play, near the bottom of the NBA in field goal attempts. So you see a lot of half-court action, and with Atlanta throwing so many big bodies and fouling Dwight Howard so often, you know it's going to frustrate the Orlando big man, and that has led to some of this aggressive edge that we've seen in the first 3 games of this series.
The officials, Dan Crawford, Pat Frere, Ed Malloy. It is a packed house once again here at Phillips. Better than 18,000 turning out. The Hawks took 3 out of 4 against Orlando during the regular season. Winning both games here in Atlanta. And back in December, they won in Orlando. For the Magic, that was prior to the big trade. About 32 games into the season. Here's Nelson. Pass intended for Smith. But it was deflected and Turkoglu back on it.
Right away, you see Orlando going to the side pick and roll, trying to get the ball swung from side to side, which they did, but Atlanta, a great job defensively.
Johnson was able to rotate and get back up. Richardson had a 3-second violation as the Hawks opened up with the single coverage. We've seen that throughout the series, and then briefly we saw the double.
Well, Jason Collins really didn't play that often during the regular season, but with this playoff matchup where you go against the same team over and over again, you see a different strategy, and you're going to see more Hawks centers as Collins picks up the offensive foul. You're going to see guys play for Atlanta who might not play in a month in the regular season.
Jason Collins, as I touched on with that lower back injury, involved in a collision with Dwight Howard. Al Horford playing with a bruised bone on his knee. Stan Van Gundy telling us earlier we will see Gilbert Arenas, who did not play at all in Game 3. Off the spin, Howard comes up short, rebounded by Smith. Johnson using the screen. Here's Johnson with the runner.
This Atlanta team has a physical edge over the Magic opposition at 4 of the 5 positions. Obviously, Howard, the major edge at center, as Heinrich comes up with the steal. But Atlanta is more athletic and bigger at the other 4 spots. So I think they need to turn up the volume a little bit, play this game at a faster pace.
Heinrich coming over from the Wizards after starting a season with Chicago. Nice move by Smith, who took a shot to the head. Josh Smith, who's playing through a sprained left elbow. And it's on his shooting hand. Able to complete that play, but he is feeling it. Turkoglu on the drive. And Van Gundy wants to see more of that from Turkoglu, who's not been hitting the outside shot. Smith trying to bank it way off, and it's played by Nelson.
I like the idea of really getting out in transition, but that was a wild shot. You got to pull up there.
Open shot for Brandon Bass.
And that's the problem. A bad shot at one end almost always leads to a really good one at the other because your defense is disjointed.
Among the many problems that the Magic have faced in this series, not able to hit the three. They're just 19 of 73 from downtown. That's a shocking 26%. Shot clock to 3. Joe Johnson again.
Johnson's so good at that little dribble, that hesitation dribble, keeping the defense off balance, and then kind of that little rocker step into his shot to give him rhythm.
And it was Joe Johnson last year. Open shot for Richardson. He hesitated and then able to drain it.
Now starting in place of the suspended Jason Richardson, Quentin Richardson coming off a 3-for-3 night from behind the line in Game 3. So he's feeling a good groove right now. Probably the only Magic player who's really feeling good about that outside shot at this point.
The Hawks with a 6-5 lead. Johnson fires to 3. So he is opened up on fire. Started to say, last season, the Hawks swept badly in the second round of the playoffs by the Magic by a 24-point average margin. Smith with the rebound of the Nelson miss, and Joe Johnson had a horrendous series. Shot just 29%, average about 14 a game, and he was booed here in Atlanta.
What a remarkable turnaround. What a difference a year makes. Atlanta really controlling this series. And the big difference has been, a year ago they double-teamed Howard on the block, and they were scrambling with shooters. Now they're staying at home, as you see the foul on Jameer Nelson. But by changing the philosophy defensively, when you look at the numbers, last year, both playoffs and regular season combined, it was a complete wipeout. 21-point average loss for the Hawks. Now this year, by changing that philosophy, staying home with shooters and making Howard beat them by himself, it's a totally different story.
Heinrich lost his balance, might have been a wet spot on the floor. Turkoglu met by Smith. Bass in a jumper a moment ago. Heinrich with the rebound. Atlanta going 44-38 in the regular season, 5th seed in the East. Heinrich running out. Hawks opened the season at 6-0. Best start by a first-year head coach in Atlanta franchise history, but Larry Drew's team has been up and down. In fact, they finished the season by losing their last 6 games. Bass. And the Hawks don't mind seeing Brandon Bass taking those outside shots. Good hustle by Nelson and able to save it.
Boy, Atlanta making some really poor decisions in transition. We've talked about the edge that they have athletically. Kenny Smith talked about it in the pregame show, but they're not making good choices to take advantage of that athleticism.
Turkoglu continues to struggle with the outside shot. Game 3 Friday night, just 3 of 11. We've seen a 2 for 9, a 4 of 16, and the 3 of 11 by Turkoglu.
Yeah, 3 for 17 overall from the three-point line coming into this game.
Johnson got the step through the foul. And shaken up.
I think he may have been hit in the stomach, Marvin.
Lower stomach.
Yes. Good aggressive move here from Joe Johnson, and that's what you have to do with Dwight Howard. You got to attack his body. Look at how he seeks out Howard's body, drawing the contact, the harm, and the 2 trips to the foul line. The ball, they should be able to take advantage. And then the final thing is the suspension. Who's going to pay for the suspension between Richardson for Orlando and Zaza Pachulia for Atlanta? Which team is hurt the hardest? I actually think, even though Richardson, the more productive player, I think Atlanta could be hard more because Pachulia was very effective defensively against Dwight Howard, and that, if he's not here, which is not obviously, if they can't replace him with Josh Powell, maybe some of the other bigs, Colton Armstrong, for example. That could change the strategy for the Hawks.
Nice move by Turkoglu. And it's obvious that he is making an effort to take it to the rim and that he's not hitting the outside shot. Substitutions for the Magic. J.J. Redick has come on, as has Ryan Anderson.
It's such a struggle to score for Stan Van Gundy's club, so he goes to his two shooters right away.
Actually, Redick was given the opportunity to be the starter, but he said he preferred coming off the bench. So the Magic went with Quentin Richardson. Nice move. Well, not quite. He was using the elbow, and he's called for a second foul.
That is huge. That is an enormous call in this game. And here's a look. Watch the hook. Yeah, easy call for the officials to make. Howard doesn't like it. But there's no question. Watch the left elbow all the way up on the back of Collins' head. And now what this means for Atlanta, they can take Collins out, and they go to their offensive lineup, move Horford to the 5, bring Marvin Williams in, and this gives Atlanta the opportunity to open this game up.
Dwight Howard grew up here in Atlanta out of Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy. He'd come to Hawk games on a regular basis, and it's hearing the blues as a visiting player here in his hometown. Johnson lost the dribble. So the Magic able to go with the smaller lineup. Turkoglu forward. Turkoglu on the pull-up. Left alive, Mike Vance pops it, and he draws the foul.
You know, this is going to be interesting, Marv, because with Howard out, it totally changes the game, and you wonder if this won't kind of free up the Orlando players to kind of give Atlanta a different look here and maybe get some rhythm offensively.
Brandon Bass with the free throw line. Average 11.6 rebounds during the regular season, 82%. Free throw shooter. Don't just listen to NBA talk. See it. Track the Facebook NBA trends on NBA Playoff Pulse. Only at NBA.com/playoff pulse.
Sometimes when your best player goes out, it forces other guys to be more aggressive. And with Turkoglu and Jameer Nelson able to penetrate, they've got shooters out there, Ryan Anderson and Redick. We'll see if maybe this kind of changes the look a little bit for Orlando and gives them just a different feel.
Dwight Howard had that huge first game of the series, although the Magic lost at home. The Hawks actually kept Howard in check during the regular season. They held him to 19 points, 43% shooting. Good setup by Nelson. Anderson was blocked. Here comes Smith behind him.
What a pass from Smith. And Marv, this is what this lineup change does. Now you've got 5 guys on Atlanta who can all run and score.
Nelson off the mark. Horford with the rebound. And here come the Hawks. Great atmosphere here tonight, as was the case in Game 3 on Friday night, as has not been the case for these past few seasons here at Phillips. Hawks have not grown well in recent years. When they do come out, often fans are cheering opposing teams and star players who are in town with the opposition. And the call is away from the ball, a defensive 3-second violation.
How about the pass from Smith, who's at that 4 spot right now? But the versatility of Smith, really can play 3 different positions. And I think this Hawks team really should probably run more often than it does. I mean, when you look at the talent, and they're not particularly good in the half court in terms of execution. But if they could take advantage and push the ball more in fast break situations, I think they could be better offensively.
Jamal Crawford hearing it from the crowd, one of the heroes of the victory on Friday night as he checks in. What a series he has had. Redick coming off the screen and rebounded by Crawford. Crawford averaging 23 points over the first 3 games. Horford with the assist, getting it to Horford.
And that's what Atlanta likes to do with Horford at the 5. Put him in pick and roll situations on the side of the court because he can pick and pop and get that jumper off before the defense can react.
The Magic just 3 of 14 from the field. Redick. They're 1 for their last 10. Here come the Hawks again. Johnson off Horford kicks it back out. Here is Marvin Williams for three. Apparently stepped on the line. It's a 2, but the Hawks on a roll. They lead it 16-9.
They look like a different team now with Collins on the bench. They're just so much more confident in their offensive game.
Just under 3 left in the first. Nelson is bumped by Johnson, so the foul on Joe Johnson. Johnson picks up his second timeout taken. Hawks with a 7-point lead.
2 fouls. Jason Collins getting a bruised tailbone they suffered Friday night. He spent the entire day in the training room, did not practice yesterday either. He is getting heat packs on the bench as he rests. Obviously, the Hawks have other players to send out there, Josh Paul-Anton Thomas and Hilton Armstrong, but all have seen very limited action. Zaza is back at home watching the game with his wife Vicky and 2 young children. I asked him yesterday where those headbutts came from. He goes, it runs in the family. He says his father was a professional wrestler in the old Soviet Union.
All right, Craig, and Kurt Heinrich is able to knock down a 3. The Hawks have a 19-9 lead. Steve, like yourself, Pachulia legally changed his name to Zaza. Nelson, right back.
Like myself.
I had that note here. Someone passed it on.
It was a long time ago, Mark.
Zaza Kerr. Kind of rolls off the tongue.
It really does.
Heinrich with the crossover. Heinrich challenged by Turkoglu, but able to score.
Well, no shot blocking at the rim with Dwight Howard on the bench, so Atlanta can really space out this Orlando defense and then attack like Heinrich did there.
Hawks have hit 9 of their first 15. Nelson. Battle for it. Hawks on it. Pass with the steal. Pass. Draws the foul.
Well, here's the problem for Orlando. That with Dwight Howard, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. Without him, they would be one of the worst. Very little size. In fact, I think Orlando might be the smallest team in the NBA because Dwight Howard, after the Gortat trade, really the only true big man. Brandon Bass, about 6'7", playing the power forward.
And that was the question right after the trade. In fact, many thought there would be a follow-up to get another serviceable big man. Earl Clark did see some time during the regular season. Horford sits down. He picked up the foul. A programming reminder, they are turning the courtroom upside down. This much fun should be illegal. Franklin and Bash series premiere Wednesday, June 1st at 9, 8 Central, only on TNT. Now, the Magic went 52-30, finished as the number 4 seed in the East. Got off to a fast start. They were 15-4. They won 6 in a row, 10-11, but then were sent back by the stomach flu, which affected 6 of their players, including Dwight Howard and Jameer Nelson. And then the huge trade of Smith is way off. And a foul is called. It is on the Hawks. Josh Powell, who just checked in. And they are now over the foul limit. 32 games in. General Manager Otis Smith just blew up the roster. Major midseason shakeup, acquiring Jason Richardson, Hedo Turkoglu, and Gilbert Arenas in 2 separate deals. There is Otis.
Well, the question, I guess, is, long-term, big picture, how does this trade play out? Because for this season, it has not played out very well. Richardson's been okay. Turkoglu's been okay. Arenas has not played well at all. And then you look at the financial ramifications. Both Arenas and Turkoglu with 3 years left on enormous contracts. And those could be albatrosses hanging around the franchise's necks going forward. I mean, this could be a real disaster with those salaries.
Crawford rebounded by Anderson. Long way to go. We may be facing a lockout in the NBA, but there's also a feeling that the Magic front office would like to show Dwight Howard that they are fully committed to making a run for a championship as Bass is able to drill it. 2012, Howard will be faced with a decision, resign or look elsewhere. Could lead to a sign and trade.
It's the biggest, probably biggest issue that the NBA will see in the next couple of years as Crawford knocks down the jumper. Aside from the lockout, but Dwight Howard's decision whether to re-sign with Orlando or not will affect this franchise profusely. And then, of course, many other franchises as well, based on trades and possible free agency.
Nice play as Crawford came from the weak side to slap it away. It's a 2-second differential between the game clock and shot clock. Hawks with a 23-17 lead and playing it down. 7 on the 24. Crawford pulls it up. And a hit! Jamal Crawford. Final seconds. Ball knocked out of the hands of Nelson. Atlanta very aggressive at the defensive end of this first quarter. Just 0.3 of a second. Can be a catch and shoot. Here it is by Nelson. The Hawks 11 of 19.
Offense, but shooting just 20%. How you can get better shots?
Well, they've got 25. Our turnovers are a major problem, and our defense is a major problem. You know, that to me is a bigger issue. We'll get our offense going.
Will it all come together if Dwight Howard's back on the floor?
Well, let's see.
All right, we will see as Dwight Howard has checked back in along with Quentin Richardson on the turnover. The ball back to Orlando.
Well, Howard, the first 3 games of this series, sat for about 5.5 minutes total. He just sat for more than that in the first quarter, thanks to the foul trouble. So Orlando down 8, but obviously still in it. So Howard's got to get going, get some rhythm here.
Redick not able to hit the shot. Makes his first 3. Howard playing with the 2 personal fouls. Josh Powell on that first sequence guarding Dwight Howard as Crawford was able to hit the turnaround. He now has 6 points. Hawks lead by 10.
A tough matchup there for Ryan Anderson trying to guard Al Horford, just too big and strong.
Oh, Gilbert Arenas, who just came out at the start of the second quarter, missed on the drive but was able to tip it in. Arenas played briefly in games 1 and 2, did not play at all in game 3. He has struggled. The sore knees are still an issue, but he has not played well. That's a 3-pointer. Once again, it is Jamal Crawford. This time from downtown.
He's been the story for Atlanta this series, averaging about 24 a game. Just too big and athletic for most of these Orlando guards. He's shooting right over the top of them.
Atlanta now 3 of 3 from beyond that 3-point line, and a foul charge to Redick.
Watch this shot from Crawford. He's so good dancing with that ball, creating space for himself. And then he's got unlimited range, really a streaky player. And perfect coming off the bench because he can play either guard spot. You don't want him playing 35 minutes because he'll shoot you out of the game sometimes. But if he's playing 25 minutes, he can come in and really explode offensively.
Steve, the Hawks do have a number of adventurous players.
Yes, they do.
Shot selection is not necessarily an issue. Heinrich once again hit a 3 at the end of the first quarter. The Hawks shooting has been terrific in this first half. 14 of 22 from the field. Arenas comes up with air and it carries out of bounds.
Well, we saw the jumper from Heinrich. I think getting Kirk Heinrich was one of the unsung trades of this entire season. In fact, if you look at the 2 trades that maybe have affected the playoffs the most to this point, it would be Shane Battier to Memphis and Heinrich to Atlanta. Both players have meant so much to their respective teams.
Sam Van Gundy made that comment the other day, said it was one of the great moves, one of the great in-season moves. What a fake by Powell. Howard did not want to pick up a personal. Powell not able to take advantage.
But Powell's got to be smarter than there. Just go right underneath Howard, and that's his 3rd foul. But instead, he kind of shied away from the contact.
That 3-point miss by Anderson. Orlando 1 of 6 from 3-point land. Horford, played by Anderson. Horford, rebounded by Quentin Richardson.
Atlanta needs to get Horford closer to the hoop against Ryan Anderson. He's catching 15, 17 feet away, but he can work before he catches the ball and get that ball about 10 or 12 feet and be in good position.
They double up on Howard, and Heinrich called for the foul.
Well, here's that play. Watch this, the pump fake. Howard jumps. Just jump into him. Go right into him. Don't shy away. If he goes underneath him, that's Howard's third foul. And now Orlando is in huge trouble.
Josh Powell signed as a free agent, was with the Lakers, spent the last 2 years in LA. With 2 Laker championship teams. You see the numbers on Dwight Howard, a 146 and 19, and his free throw shooting in this series has been much better than what you normally see from Dwight.
About 68% coming into this game, as opposed to about 59 in the regular season. I think that's still where Dwight can improve the most. You know, if he becomes a consistent, say, 70% foul shooter, it'd be so much more difficult to handle down there. Another thing is he turns the ball over a lot. You know, such a great player. You know, probably going to finish second in the MVP balloting behind Derrick Rose. That makes so much difference for this team. He is the Orlando Magic.
Beautiful play to set it up for Jamal Crawford. You mentioned the turnovers by Howard. He had 8 in game 1 when he scored the 46 points. He had 7 in game 2. Foul is charged to Atlanta. Timeout is called. Back in a moment.
We defend, we run, we attack, we make it a war for 48 minutes. Here we go.
Come on, let's get up again. They've started the game a lot quicker than us.
This is exactly what happened in game 3, Marv. Atlanta got out to the much faster start, and I really believe they've played harder than Orlando in this series. They're also much more athletic, and they're stronger, so when both teams are playing hard, the athleticism of Atlanta really takes over the game.
Redick trying to shoot himself back into it. He has been struggling. It's only his 4th game back. Sat out over a month with that lower abdominal strain, and made his return in game 1 of this series and has not shot well. Stan Van Gundy not happy with his team's defensive play. And this is a club that allowed only 94 points per game. Heinrich is on fire. They were 4th in the NBA in that defensive department.
They're a team that obviously relies on Dwight Howard to man the paint as Arenas gets all the way to the rim. So when Howard can guard the rim and everything in the paint area, it allows for the defenders to stay home with shooters for Orlando.
And they hold opponents to just under 44%, which is also 4th.
It's amazing, man. And Dwight Howard is the only good defender on this team on an individual basis. Everybody else is either average or below average. Meanwhile, Heinrich getting himself free. And Marv, I like what Atlanta has done here. They've got better movement than what we've seen in the first few games of this series. They have a tendency to bog down offensively and get too dependent on isolation situations, but they've moved it well here so far tonight.
Foul on Arenas. You see Turkoglu check back in. Josh Smith comes on for Marvin Williams. Kirk Heinrich is now 4 of 5 from the field. Heinrich and Crawford in the backcourt. Crawford, Powell, and Smith up front. Heinrich played by Arenas. Able to split through. Heinrich fires one up and rebounded by Howard. There's the leak out for Turkoglu, and he is fouled. Taken down by Crawford. A good foul. Did not allow the shot.
And a rare fast break opportunity for Orlando. You know, they were 28th in the NBA in fast break points this year, about 11 per game, and Atlanta has done a nice job of keeping them in the half court in this series. And you see the good hard foul from Crawford.
Turkoglu only a 68% free throw shooter. Look at the way this series has gone. Hawks winning in Orlando in game 1. The Magic come back, but Friday night game 3 here in Atlanta won by the Hawks. Game 5 Tuesday back in Orlando, which will be seen on NBA TV. Anderson on the follow.
You know, it feels like watching these games that Atlanta could be up 3-0 and really should have dominated game 3, and that came down to a last-second shot. So Orlando just kind of holding on in this series, but you know, they get a win today. It's 2-2.
Jamal Crawford now 5 of 6 from the field. He has 11 points. Howard on a spin. Rejected by Howard. Crawford putting moves on Turkoglu and got down Fulcher. Rebounded by Arenas.
A bad shot, and if he had pulled it out, Atlanta might have had a nice easy one on the other side. Arenas with a nice move in transition. And Marv, I've always felt that, in transition, if nothing's there, the defense has had to respond to that push. If you just pull it out and move the ball once or twice, you're going to end up with an open look on the other side of the floor.
Just under 6.5 remaining in this first half. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager. We are in Atlanta. And off that move by Horford, a foul charged to Anderson.
Now look at this block from Josh Smith. And one of the reasons that Larry Drew feels comfortable playing Dwight Howard one-on-one is that he's got Smith coming over from the weak side. And a lot of his wing defenders are coming down to kind of dig on Howard without committing an all-out double team. And they can do that, as we see the careless turnover from Atlanta. This is such a long athletic team between Smith and Joe Johnson, Crawford, and Horford. They've got guys who can bother Howard without actually double teaming him. And then, as you see with Smith, the ability to come over from the weak side and block shots. Very impressive.
At this point, Dwight Howard sat for a stretch after picking up a second foul. 0 for 3 from the field. His 2 points coming from the foul line. Nelson putting moves on Heinrich. Has to give it up to Turkoglu. Turkoglu around Smith. He gambled. He tried to deflect it on a strip. Did not work.
And Josh Powell is complaining to Ed Malloy right now that Dwight Howard held him because it was Powell's rotation that was never made. And look at him, he's talking to him, he's saying, look, Dwight Howard held me. That's an old point lead. We're gonna take a look at a very crafty play from Dwight Howard here on the weak side of this play. Watch Turkoglu make his move. Now it's Josh Powell's decision here. He's got, actually not a decision, it's his job to come over and rotate over and protect the basket. But look at Howard, he grabs Powell's hand, slowing him up, not allowing to get him to get there to that rotation. Powell complaining. The problem is when the Hawks look at this tape tomorrow, Larry Drew's going to tell him, you were a full second late on the rotation anyway. You didn't even deserve the call. He's got to be over there much sooner.
Jason Collins has checked back in. That pass intended for Collins. Turkoglu goes behind the back and lost it. Atlanta's led by as many as 16. Orlando showing some signs, an 8-2 run for the Magic. They've hit 4 of the last 5 shots. They started out just 6 for 27 from the field. Anderson kicking it out. Arenas is off. Heinrich with a rebound and was pushed by Anderson.
Now some really sloppy play from both teams here, Mark. The turnovers have been an issue. 9 for the Hawks to this point, 6 for Orlando. And some of them in transition where it looks like either team's going to end up with a good shot, and just mishandling of the ball, just so careless, and it's led to kind of a choppy second quarter.
Heinrich hearing it from the crowd as he sits down. Leads with 4 of 6 10 points. Joe Johnson is back. Johnson and Crawford in the backcourt. Smith's pass through the hands of Collins, and the ball back to the Magic.
And Josh Smith continues to hold his eyes. And remember, he got hit there early in the game by Dwight Howard on that fast break basket. And every time down, looks like he's kind of holding his head. I don't know if he's got a headache or if his vision is a problem, but he's had some air balls. He's made some really shaky plays here.
Turkoglu off the fake, beating Smith. Not able to convert. Here comes Crawford. Does the ball pretty well for a guy, what, 6'9", 6'10"? That's a 3-point attempt. Johnson way off.
This is such a strange team, Marv, Atlanta. They go through these spells. Ryan Anderson tees up the three, can't get it. But they go through these dry spells where they make poor decisions, take quick shots, they get into isolation mode. There's another quick shot from Crawford.
Crawford firing it, what, 3 seconds into the 24.
Tried to draw that foul. We've seen him make so many 4-point plays. In fact, there was one in game 3 for the Hawks for Crawford.
Turkoglu off, but Anderson keeps it alive. Orlando, a team that led the NBA in three-pointers made, three-pointers attempt. Tonight they are 1 of 11 from beyond that three-point line as they continue to have huge problems with the three-point shot.
I didn't think it could get any worse. I mean, coming into this series, into this game in this series, they were 19 for 73. It's even worse tonight.
Smith fires from three. Larry Drew earlier this season, and I'm sure not only earlier this season as you see Smith take the shot to the head, but very upset with the shot selection, as you can understand with Josh Smith. Just does not want him taking those kind of three-pointers. He was, what, 33% from downtown.
He's a guy who's so talented, Marv, but he doesn't do one thing spectacularly well. I mean, you think he would be a better offensive rebounder. You'd think he'd get more offensive putbacks, but he settles a lot. Settles for ISO plays, jump shots. Still a very effective player, but I get the feeling he could be a lot better.
Howard wrapped up by Collins. So Collins commits his second. Prior to the start of this series, Jason Collins stated bluntly that the Hawks want to rough up Dwight Howard. Basically had a quote in the paper that said Dwight's got to know every time he goes into the lane we're going to hit him. So it's not like a secret strategy. Then head coach Stan Van Gundy said, well, it's everybody's strategy, and Jason Collins just one of the few guys to come out and admit it.
I think the fact that he used the word hit was a little bit controversial. You know, he probably should have been a little more politically correct and said, you know, we're going to foul him or we're going to be physical with him. But when he said we're going to hit him, I think that drew the attention of Van Gundy and the Orlando organization. Remember, Howard, as often as he has fouled, and he led the NBA in fouls drawn this year, about 790 something. Not one was called as a flagrant. Take a look at the number. It was 763. Led the NBA's 916 free throw attempts. Also #1 in the league. But none of those fouls were ruled as flagrants. And Sam Van Gundy's theory is that he's so big and strong and he doesn't flop. He never goes down hard. He just sort of stands there. And as a result, no reaction from him and no flagrant calls from the official.
Foul on Powell, putting Turkoglu at the line. Hawks over the foul limit. Wouldn't you say that is similar to what has happened over the years to Shaquille O'Neal? Because they don't want to look like they're flopping. They're talking about Shaq and Howard and LeBron James, who's hammered all the time, but he's so big and strong that he might not get calls because he does not sell it and go down and hit the floor.
Well, they're projecting themselves as the biggest, strongest, baddest guy on the wall because Crawford gets the post-up move to go. And I do think the officials tend to call the flagrant more often when there's a dramatic conclusion to the play with somebody going down hard. It's just human nature.
Howard on the recovery, try to bank it.
Looked like Smith was holding on to the net.
Yeah, basket counts. It's a goaltend. Howard receiving credit for his first field goal of the night.
Incredible. I mean, Howard 1 for 4, Nelson 1 for 7. Those two guys have carried this offense the first 3 games. Take a look. He just holds the net. Just not a smart play. That bucket was probably going to go anyway, but still, you've got to pull that right hand back, make him make the shot if you're Josh Smith.
The Magic now within 9. And a technical foul. It's a non-sportsmanlike or unsportsmanlike technical on Josh Smith.
So it's a technical and a goaltend in one fell swoop.
That's the hat trick.
Yeah, well,
2 plus the possible 1 on the technical free throw. Timeout call, 2:32 left in this first half. Dan Crawford over to explain the call. Now they say it's not a goaltend, so the basket does not count. But in that Josh Smith grabbed the net. Technical foul
never
was called. Stan Van Gundy wanted the goaltend, will not get the goal. It appeared that one of the officials indicated goaltend and they talked it over.
I've never actually seen that play happen, but it looked to me like he pulled the net pretty hard, which actually moved the rim a little bit. And anytime you interfere with the rim or the backboard in a kind of a violent manner, I always thought that was a goaltend. But we stand corrected.
Erase that hat trick reference.
Yeah.
It's the 1 point on the technical by Redick, and now a jump ball.
Jump ball, yeah. Interesting turn of events here, and this obviously jump ball advantage to the Magic with Howard. They should control.
Nelson and Redick in the backcourt. Turkoglu with Howard and Anderson up front. Anderson for three. They continue to have their problems from downtown. 1 of 12 from three-point range.
And this happens in playoff series sometimes, Mark. You play the same defense over and over again, and you get into a rut, and it's tough to get out of. In the regular season, you have a bad game, you move on, you play a different team. Powell gets the jumper to go. It's easier to pick up your confidence, you know, against a different club, a new rhythm, new pace. But it gets in your head when you're playing the same team over and over again, and you can't get any offensive groove, and they're missing shots badly.
Howard with the stuff and the foul. Dwight Howard rebounded the miss by Redick, putting it down, and will go to the line.
And this is where you see the absence of Pachulia, because Powell not nearly as strong as Pachulia, and he gets blocked out there by his teammate. I think it might have been Marvin Williams here. No, it's Josh Smith, and they get tangled up. Howard with the dunk. I didn't see where the foul came, but without Pachulia in the lineup, Howard's going to have his way physically with Powell.
Foul on Smith. Howard 3 of 4 at the line. Smith with the box out. 8-point Atlanta lead as we approach a minute and a half remaining in the first half. Kirkpatrick is back. Redick picked off. Heinrich with the lead pass. Smith gives it up. Williams wide open. Battle between Turkoglu and Powell, and Orlando controlling. Redick open for 3. Smith with the rebound.
Redick's not right, 0 for 6 now, and you talked about his injury, Marv. Missed 17 games, but an abdominal injury, that's especially tough for a shooter because you have to spend all that time on the shelf. You can't get shots up and expect that injury to heal, so he is really rusted.
Nelson, nice move, accelerated. Smith got a piece of it, and it's a goaltend. That will count.
Boy, but Smith coming out of nowhere, doesn't like the call. And that was really close, but we've seen this a few times tonight. Josh Smith beaten on plays, and the ability to just extend that left arm, and that looked like a good block to me. I don't think he quite pinned it on the board. He doesn't think so, but he can recover and get back into a play so well. It's just amazing, that length and athleticism.
And although the Magic not shooting well, they battled their way back. They've done it in the foul line. 17 free throws for Orlando, 12 of 17 at the line. Smith with the wall.
And that's what Larry Drew is looking for offensively. With the ball moving and then attack. Especially with Dwight Howard having a couple of fouls. He doesn't want to commit his third here in the second quarter, so Hawks probably haven't been aggressive enough here.
Turkoglu for 3. The drought continues. Hawks can hold for a final shot of this first half. Around their feet here at Phillips Arena. Down to 3, 2, 1. Crawford with 1 and 1/10 second remaining in the half. The foul is called. It is on Dwight Howard.
Wow.
That is his 3rd.
What a blow for the Magic. Picking up his 3rd with 1 second left. Watch the move from Crawford. Getting around Nelson, and then, the late contact from Howard. And that's the problem, with the penetration of these Atlanta guards, and both Crawford and Joe Johnson are so good at getting past their man on the perimeter. That means Howard has to come over, and it leaves him susceptible to fouls.
Crawford 85% at the line during the regular season. Ryan Anderson coming on now for Dwight Howard. Howard just 1 of 4 from the field, 5 points, 6 rebounds. Jamal Crawford, the NBA's 6th man award winner last season. It's a little dangerous by Crawford trying to block that shot by Anderson. And unfortunately, it was not called for the foul. Would have been 3 shots.
Yeah, that's right.
Hawks led by as many as 16. They lead the Magic at halftime, 46-37 after quick Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks led by as many as 16, a 9-point lead at halftime. Atlanta tried to jump in front 3-1. Orlando looking to tie up this series. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager, and the first half, aside from the shooting woes once again of Orlando, we have been watching the struggles of Dwight Howard.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for him. Those 2 early fouls were really a problem for Howard. Remember, he dominated this series offensively. The first 2 games, he averaged 39 points and 19 boards against that single coverage. But tonight, the 2 early fouls, Atlanta has been sending a little bit of help, not an all-out double team, but you see the help from Heinrich and Josh Smith coming over. So he's really never gotten into a groove, and then when he has gotten close to the rim, Collins has done his job, hit him really hard. Here's that 3rd foul, just 1 second left in the half, and you wonder if that's going to make him continue to play less than his usual aggressive self. And look at the numbers there. 1 for 14 from the 3-point line, 28% overall.
28%, the worst shooting first half for the Magic this season. And overall, from downtown, the Magic in this series now 20 of 87, 23%. 1 of 14 comes out to 7% from downtown in the first half. It's a stunning number. Once again, he'll shot the ball well. 5 for 7, 12 points. The high man for Atlanta, once again, is Jamal Crawford with 14. Once again, Jamal will come off the bench. Orlando does not have anyone in double figures.
Straight up.
Howard on a spin, coming up short. Played well by Jason Collins.
He sure was. You see why Collins is out there. That big, strong body. He keeps Howard about 10 to 12 feet away from the hoop. Howard unable to get that position he normally enjoys down on the block.
Heinrich and Joe Johnson at the guards. Horford, Smith, and Collins up front. Shot clock at 1. Horford got it off. Nelson and Quentin Richardson in the backcourt. Richardson starting for the suspended Jason Richardson. Tripping foul is charged to Heinrich. Let's check it with Craig Sager. Craig.
Well, Lamar, the theme in the locker room at halftime for Orlando, we're making shots this half. We're making shots this half. That's what Stan kept preaching to his team. They want to continue to drive the ball. If they don't make the outside shot, very few options. Chris Duhon has not seen any action, but he has a very badly sprained ankle from last Wednesday in practice, so he may or not play in the second half. So that means J.J. Redick, Ryan Anderson, a combined 1 for 12, will continue to get playing time. They'll continue to get shots, and as Stan said halftime, we're making them this half.
All right, thank you, Craig. Josh Smith was called for that foul. Quick 2 on Atlanta. Orlando spent much time at the line. In fact, that kept them in the game in the first half. Here's Turner with a shot clock running down. And that's another missed 3 for the Magic.
You know, I know Stan Van Gundy has talked about the fact that his team has gotten good looks, but they're not the kind of looks that Orlando is used to getting. They're a very particular offensive team the way they play. They throw it into Dwight and they kick it out. It's all inside out as Horford knocks down the 18-footer. But the way this series has been played, Marv, Atlanta has completely taken Orlando out of its groove. There's no inside-out game because there's no double team. And as a result, even the open shots that Orlando is getting are not usual rhythm shots from this Orlando offense.
The Magic calling for time, and they're on their feet once again here in Atlanta. And defended by Corona.
Well, Mark, you mentioned earlier that last year these two teams met in the conference semis, and it was the most lopsided playoff series in the history of the NBA. Orlando just destroyed the Hawks. But look at the numbers between the guys who were here last year and then the ones they traded for this year. All three struggling. Jason Richardson obviously not here tonight, but that trade clearly has not paid off for Otis Smith. This series has baskets right to the front of the rim. And as we talked about also, you know, where do they go from here, assuming you know, if they don't have a successful playoff run, you know, the future of this organization following that trade really kind of up in the air.
A couple of moves. Rashard Lewis ending up with the Wizards. Vince Carter, Michael Beatrice, Marcin Gortat going to the Phoenix Suns. Collins with a rare shot. And again, Howard did not want to pick up number 4.
Good point. They went right at Howard. Collins, not a guy you'd expect to score in a game like this, but he takes advantage.
Howard on the move is fouled by Collins.
Well, I like what Atlanta has done here to start the third. Better movement, ball side to side. You've got to get Dwight Howard on the move. If he can just stand there and roam and tee up on your offense, which he can do, especially when Atlanta gets stagnant and isolation heavy, then he's a force. But if you can move him around a little bit, you can have some success.
Third team foul on the Hawks. They have been in foul trouble. Orlando spending much time at the line in contrast to the Hawks. Quentin Richardson able to knock it down. A reminder, coming up game 2 of our doubleheader, the Lakers and Hornets playing the third. I should say game 4 of the best of 7. Lakers have taken a 2-1 lead. Meet in New Orleans. Chris Paul with an injured left thumb. Kobe had a 30-point game the other day. Kevin Harlan, Reggie, and Cheryl Miller will have it for you here on TNT. Joe Johnson is able to hit the rainbow. He now has 10 points. Hawks up by 13. We're early moments, third quarter. Nelson with another missed 3 by Orlando. Johnson for 3.
What did Kenny Smith say at halftime? That this is not championship basketball. That was not championship basketball. It's such a bad shot. I mean, you got them on the ropes here, up 13. This is exactly what we saw in the second quarter, Mark. Get them on the ropes, bad shot, it brings Orlando right back into the game.
Well, the Magic always alive against the Hawks the way they play, as Bass is able to knock it down. The shot selection is so poor.
And I think Hinrich has really helped Atlanta's cause in that department. He gives them more direction at the point. He's going to get an offensive foul. Is it on Joe Johnson?
Yes, it is. Yeah. That's his third.
But when Hinrich's on the floor, you see better flow to this Atlanta offense. And I think that's one of the reasons that they've gotten off to this quick start in the second half here. But there's so many bad shots that this team takes that it has allowed Orlando shooting just 30% to stay right in the game, only down 11.
But you wonder how long can this bad shooting continue on the part of the Magic. They're now at 30% from the field, but 1 of 16 from the three-point line. Good position by Howard. Howard taking advantage, getting very deep.
Well, and that's the first step to making some threes, is establishing Dwight Howard in the paint first. You can't come out and just launch. You got to get your superstar going, and that's Howard's second hoop of the night.
Hinrich not able to hit from downtown. Nelson pushing it, pulls it up. Rebounded by Horford. Listen to him. Now Johnson goes to the post. Smith one-on-one with Turkoglu, and once again a bad call.
Well, great defense by Orlando. Atlanta didn't get into their offense quick enough. They took so much time, as you mentioned. Hinrich was trying to get them organized, and they never got into a flow. And it's one of the problems when you don't start your offense till about 12 seconds. Now you're in big trouble.
Collins, yes, and it counts.
And this is what we saw in games 1 and 2, Marv, with Atlanta intent on staying at home with shooters. Orlando going into Howard, and the adjustment they've made, they're going right down the pipe to him in this third quarter rather than posting him up on the block. They're trying to get him right in the front of the rim. Much tougher for those Atlanta defenders to come down and harass him. And as a result, Howard starting to get into a little groove here.
Number 4 on Jason Collins. And Hilton Armstrong makes his first appearance of the night. Howard trying to complete the three-point play, 3 of 5 at the line. It is down to a 6-point Atlanta lead.
Unreal. I mean, it's just, if you're a Hawks fan, you're sitting at home thinking, we should be up 15 to 20 points right now. But Atlanta just keeps stepping on its own feet every time they look like they're going to pull away. And now it looks like Orlando getting into a little bit of a groove.
Stepping on its own? That's good. I've never heard that. Part of basketball terminology. Turkoglu in a battle with Horford. And the foul is on Turkoglu, who did not like the call. Called in the act.
We'll take a look here. Nice little pass from Heinrich, and I think Turkoglu just gets a little aggressive with his left arm here, and that's why he picks up the foul.
7-0 run by the Magic. So that is ended on the free throw by Horford. Fear the skies, face the enemy, fight for survival from TNT and DreamWorks Television. Falling Skies series premiere this June, only on TNT. Atlanta last season went 53-29. End of the playoffs after knocking off Milwaukee in 7. They were swept in the second round, swept badly by Orlando. Orlando ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they lost to the Celtics in 6 games. Howard spinning on a double. Nice move. One at Hilton Armstrong, but Heinrich came over to try and help. And it is back to a 6-point Atlanta lead.
And again, we go back to the suspension of Zaza Pachulia, who would be in the game right now with Collins in foul trouble. And even though Atlanta has loaded up with a stable of bigs, as Richardson's going to pick up the foul, but they've loaded up their roster with Hilton Armstrong and Etan Thomas, Josh Powell. Doesn't matter. I mean, Dwight Howard just too big and strong for Armstrong, and he's hit 3 in a row now.
Howard has scored the last 7 points for the Magic. Jamal Crawford returns for Atlanta, coming on for Kirk Heinrich. Crawford played by Bass. Shot clock down to 7. Johnson on the back tap, kept alive by Johnson to have a new clock. Oh, Armstrong set a hard pitch. Richardson ran right into it. Crawford for 3. Jamal Crawford off the bench to connect on his second from downtown.
And that's how Atlanta has to attack, Mark. The penetration from Johnson and then swing the ball to the side. You get a much better look for Jamal Crawford.
Hawks lead by 9, 4.5 remaining in the third. Howard going at Armstrong again.
Uh-oh. I mean, you don't want to see this if you're a Hawks fan, because once Howard gets it going, as we saw in game 1 when he had 46, it's almost impossible to stop, and Atlanta does not want to commit that double team.
Foul is called with Smith trying to set up in the lane. It's on Turkoglu, his second.
And look at the pick from Armstrong. That's what set up the play, because what followed was the penetration from Johnson and then the open look for Crawford.
17 points for Jamal Crawford.
I guess the question strategically, if you're Larry Drew, do you want to now double Howard? Because Orlando in such a bad rhythm offensively as Horford drains the 20-footer. Do you change it up? You know, do you risk sending a double team at Howard and allowing some of those three-point shooters to get going?
Howard has hit his last 4 shots Or do you say, hey, they're not hitting threes, they'll continue to struggle? Howard is fouled by Armstrong. And he'll go to the line fouled in the act. Or do you say, no, they're going to start hitting their threes?
Well, that's the question. And, you know, I think I would continue to throw bodies at Howard, let them score by twos, foul him like that, make him shoot free throws. We know he's only a 59% free throw shooter. But this strategy has been successful throughout this series. I think you continue to do what you're doing, keep throwing bodies. You know, Larry Drew had an interesting comment. He was asked about Zaza Pachulia's absence. He said, well, we've got bodies to throw at Howard. The question is, can those bodies be effective? Pachulia was very effective. Armstrong struggling a little bit. Josh Powell had a rough go himself. They can still throw Eton Thomas out there as well.
Dwight Howard hitting his free throws here this evening, now 6 of 8. 16 points, 9 rebounds for Howard, playing with the 3 fouls that he picked up in the first half, and Howard has scored the last 11 for the Magic. Johnson guarded by Arenas. Arenas got a piece of it, and it's last touch by Johnson. Good play by Gilbert Arenas.
And the Atlanta offense comes to a screeching halt. You know, the talent of Joe Johnson and Jamal Crawford, Mark, it's almost a double-edged sword. They both have the ability to create their own shots, but sometimes they both fall in love with trying to create their own shots, and the offense just loses its pace.
Howard feeling for Armstrong and lost it. Johnson with the alley-oop. That'll put Josh Smith at the line as he took the push.
Dwight Howard getting it going here in the quarter. Jump hook in the lane, goes to the left hand, right back to the right hand jump hook. Howard taking over offensively here. He's got the Magic within 7.
Mayor Nelson, who had an explosive game 1, 10 of 18, including the 4 threes, 27 points, but only 1 assist in that opening game. Commissioner David Stern looking down at his score sheet. You know, he keeps score.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah. Does it at home, too, on the TV.
So you just marked down Smith 0 for 2 free throws?
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks for clearing that up for me. I was wondering what he was doing up there.
Did you do that as a kid, listening to games on the radio, keeping score? Arenas with a nice ball, not able to take advantage as Crawford went down.
I did not. Did you do that?
You were playing.
What about baseball? That's what people do in baseball more than basketball, right?
I used to. I must have been. Smith on the follow.
That's where Smith needs to spend a lot more time. He's so long and athletic. He should be a really aggressive offensive rebounder, and the Hawks needed that shot badly.
Hawks now lead of 63, 54. I would even keep score listening to NHL games. So you write something every half hour. And here comes Smith. Moving on Turkoglu and then kicks it out. Johnson with the runner. Good job closing by Reddick. Johnson able to flip it out. Here's Crawford for 3. Just under 2 minutes remaining. Third quarter. Arenas saw the opening. That will count and a foul.
And that's why Orlando traded for moves like that. And that was kind of vintage Gilbert Arenas getting into the paint and finishing in his prime. One of the most explosive players in the NBA. And Orlando has not seen enough of that since the trade. But Arenas putting together a nice game here tonight.
Foul committed by Hilton Armstrong. Kurt Heinrich will check back in. Coming on for Joe Johnson, who leads with 10 points. Gilbert Arenas played only 32 games last season due to the suspension. Several huge scoring seasons, including 29 and 28 a game. He was acquired from the Wizards in that deal for Rashard Lewis, but has not delivered for the Magic. In fact, sat out game 3. continued to have problems with his knees. Crawford puts a move on Arenas. Got the step and drew the foul.
You know, watching this Hawks team, Marvin, in the last few years since Crawford and Joe Johnson have been here, they've hit as many game-winning shots as just about any team I can remember. And one of the reasons is both Crawford and Johnson have the ability to just create something out of nothing, and they're both fearless, you know, late in games. Crawford especially, he's just hit so many big ones. And I talked about it earlier. It gets them in trouble sometimes too, because they want to make those same moves, you know, in the middle of the game. You love having a guy who can create his own shot at the end of game, at the end of shot clocks. But at times, these guys go a little bit too much on their own, and it creates a stagnant pace for the Hawks.
Magic in possession, down by 7. Nice entry pass from Arenas as Armstrong wraps up Howard. Both teams are over the foul limit, so that'll put Howard back to the line where he's hit 6 of 8. Let's check in with Craig.
Well, Steve was talking about Crawford's ability to make those big shots at the end of games. I said to him, what's the key to your game? He goes, I'm a ball hog. I said, okay.
He's honest. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I mentioned earlier, he's the kind of guy you want to play 25 minutes a game, but not too much more. Because if you get him in the right role where he's just coming off the bench and being explosive, a little like Jason Terry perhaps, then he's great. But you don't want to overdo it playing 40 minutes, and it becomes diminishing returns.
Quentin Richardson returning to the lineup for Hedo Turkoglu, just 2 of 9. Hedo continues to struggle during his playoff series. Howard has hit all 5 of his free throws in this quarter. And this the closest the game has been since late first quarter. 5-point lead for Atlanta. Crawford adds to that lead.
The ball hog taking over. What a move there. 20 points for Crawford.
Final minute, third quarter. Arenas, and nowhere to go. Picked off by Marvin Williams. Heinrich, blocked from behind by Howard, able to save it. What a play by Dwight Howard.
And Mark, we got to give Orlando's defense some credit here in the third. They've played with much more energy and pace in this quarter.
And again, it's Arenas. Able to weave his way. He's now 5 of 9, 11 points, and has provided a lift for the Magic.
Let's go, Hawks!
Hawks playing out the clock. Out of 5 seconds remaining, third quarter. Smith with a rainbow 3, rebounded by Richardson. Hawks have led by as many as 16 as we head to the fourth. The Magic within 5. You're watching.
Hawks have dominated the game, but they have just a 5-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Wouldn't they, Larry Drew? And Coach, are you surprised it's just 5?
Yeah, well, I think, once we got into a rhythm, particularly in that first half, second half, we've been up and down. We've just got to do a better job of moving the basketball and just staying in an attack mode. We had some bad shots in that third quarter. Hopefully we'll do a better job in the fourth.
Orlando's going to give you a study diet of Dwight Howard. Will you double team him or continue to play him one-on-one?
I don't know right now. We'll see.
All right, thanks a lot.
Well, a little hedge here by the head coach, Larry Drew. Orlando, 9 of 15, showing some signs in the second half. However, Dwight Howard just picked up his 4th foul on that charge.
It's the third good defensive play Hilton Armstrong has made against Dwight Howard. He stripped him twice, and that time, a la Jason Collins, reading the move, knowing that Howard loves to go over that left shoulder, using his quick feet to get in position. Big play there.
Howard scoring 13 points, 13 of Orlando's 24 in the third quarter. Crawford is fouled, hacked by Arenas.
Some rare free throws coming up for the Hawks. These will be attempts number 11 and 12. And, Craig Sager said, are you surprised it's only a 5-point game when he talked to Larry Drew. Well, it's free throw. It's all about free throws for Orlando. 18 for 23 from the line for the Magic. Just 5 of 11 now for the Hawks.
Crawford at 85% free throw shooter.
And look at the fourth quarter numbers in this series. Neither team really lighting it up, but the Hawks have shot 37% from 3. Crawford misses both free throws, but they've hit some big threes late that have kind of helped them win 2 of these first 3 games. We'll see if that continues.
Arenas puts it over Howard. Gilbert Arenas has helped turn things around for the Magic in the second half, and Orlando is within 3.
And again, Orlando attacking the middle of the floor. The first half, they tried to go to the side pick and roll and the side post-ups. Atlanta was able to send too much help. Nothing, no help coming on that middle penetration.
Crawford over Arenas. Hawks lead at 68-63. Arenas, oh, what a ball fake. And a foul. Or did they call it a goaltend?
I think it's just a goaltend. Marvin Arenas has really been able to attack. And, you know, we've talked so much about the Hawks staying home with shooters on Dwight Howard's post-ups. They've also been doing it on penetration, as you see Marvin Williams in the corner staying with his man. Arenas finally really able to attack the paint and get some penetration against this Hawk defense.
Horford backing Anderson. Horford. Good hustle by Horford, but Redick came up with it. Slayton Richardson for 3. Foul is called, and it is on Marvin Williams.
Gilbert Arenas really putting together a nice game here. Look at the alley-oop, throwing it up there, knowing his big man is going to follow. We usually see that pass coming from Jameer Nelson, but spectacular play between Arenas and Howard.
Joe Johnson is back. Hilton Armstrong departs. Minute and a half gone by on the fourth. The Hawk lead once 16 is down to 3. Arenas for 3. Yes. Gilbert Arenas off the dribble has tied the game. What a performance by Arenas, who did not play at all in game 3. He is now 7 for 11, 16 points. Timeout called by the Hawks. It's all tied at 68. Orlando hits a three-pointer. They had missed 18 in a row. Quentin Richardson hit the first Magic three-pointer attempted early on. Then they go 0 for 18 until Gilbert Arenas, who has lifted the Magic, knocked it down. Crawford right back from downtown.
Well, Marv, for the first time tonight, we're going to see Al Horford guarding Dwight Howard. And the advantage there is that Horford only has 2 fouls. He can do a job on it, but at the other end, offensively, this is a very good Hawks lineup.
Howard is called for a traveling violation.
Yeah, this is not a matchup you want early in the game if you're Larry Drew, because Horford could pick up some early fouls. So they've gone with their defensive-minded centers on Howard, and as a result, they've been hamstrung a little bit offensively. Now all of a sudden you put Horford at the 5. You can put Howard in pick and pop situations offensively, and Horford only 2 fouls. He can play Howard aggressively at the defensive end.
Howard, who has had turnover problems, picks up his 7th turnover to give the ball back to Atlanta. They double up on Crawford. Atlanta reacting very well to that double team.
And there it is. You put Howard in the double team, in the pick and roll, way out at the 3-point line, and immediately Horford rolls to the rim and converts the play. You can't make that play with Collins or Hilton Armstrong.
For tonight's Marines teamwork play of the game.
Well, early on, Atlanta was really getting out in transition, and a beautiful feed from Smith to Horford. Since that time, it's been all half court for the Hawks, and a couple of really good plays from Atlanta after the Magic had tied it at 68, and now they've extended that lead back to 5.
Well, Arenas is feeling it. Gilbert Arenas, who hit that 3 a moment ago, knocks down a 2. 18 points in 16 minutes on 8 of 12 shooting. for Arenas. The Hawks with a 73-70 lead again. Howard jumping out on a double team. Johnson for three. Last touch by the Magic.
Well, I was just about to say we haven't seen Hedo Turkoglu in a long time, and he's going to check back in right now for Anderson. So look at this lineup. If you're Stan Van Gundy, I guarantee you that you haven't seen a whole lot of this year. You got basically four guards, if you consider Turkoglu a guard, with Howard. You got Arenas, Nelson, and Quentin Richardson all on the floor at the same time.
Horford sets the pick, and Howard jumps out, and Johnson lost it. Arenas thought he was fouled. He hit his previous 5 shots. Now Crawford met by Nelson. Heinrich. Yes. Kurt Heinrich has had an excellent game. 6 for 10, 14 points.
It's been a three-man show offensively for the Hawks. Horford, Heinrich, and Jamal Crawford.
Hawks have a 5-point lead 4 minutes in to this fourth quarter as Howard was double-teamed. He was hit from behind by Smith. Foul on Josh Smith. He commits his third. Atlanta with their second team foul. They've been in foul trouble every quarter. The reason that the Magic had been to the line 23 times, 18 of 23, which actually kept them within range despite the poor shooting. Now single coverage. Here comes the double. Howard able to score.
How about that? Atlanta going to Josh Smith on Howard instead of Al Horford. And I think Howard would probably rather see Smith, even though he's long and active down there. Horford much stronger on the block.
Howard is playing with the 4 fouls. Early foul trouble had a set for a good portion of the first quarter. Horford rebounded by Arenas. Nelson gets it down low. Horford is on Howard. And he is fouled, so he'll head to the line.
You see Horford back on Howard there, and I think we're going to see a switch here, and that's what happened. You see how Horford switch out on Turkoglu, and that's exactly right. It was a switch, so Howard taking advantage and scoring over the top, and now you go back to Horford, who picks up a foul.
Third on Horford. And Howard hitting his free throws, 9 of 11 at the line. Hawks up 2-1 coming into tonight, winning game 1 in Orlando. Game 5 will take place back in Orlando and will be seen on NBA TV. That'll be Tuesday night.
Marv, I think Orlando has to win tonight to win the series. I mean, I know that's not really going out on a limb, but just the way they've played this year, you know, kind of the lack of grit, the toughness that we've seen from this club. I don't know, asking them to come back from 3-1 down, that's an awful lot.
High dribble by Josh Smith as he backed his way, draws the foul. It is on Turkoglu. It's number 3 on Hedo.
And we mentioned this earlier with Smith when we got the offensive putback. You know, this is another area where he could really help this club. You know, taking advantage of his athleticism to get to the foul line, because Atlanta 29th in the NBA this year in free throw attempts per game, about 21 per night, and they don't score much in the paint either. They're 29th in paint points, 37 a game. So this is a team that just doesn't get a lot of easy hoops. So anytime they can get out in transition or get Smith down on the block or a putback, it's just huge to find those points from him.
Josh Smith, like Dwight Howard, grew up in the Atlanta area. They have been friends since childhood. Smith, just a 73% free throw shooter, hitting 1 of 2. So the Hawk lead is just 2 as we approach 6.5 remaining in the fourth. Howard off the head fake, draws the double. called for steps. Another turnover with Dwight Howard.
Another switch between Horford and Smith. And that time Smith kind of forces Howard into a tough position underneath the hoop. He goes baseline, tries to spin back, and nowhere to go. And a good defense from Josh Smith.
8th turnover committed by Howard. Crawford forced it. Howard with the rebound.
Poor execution from the Hawks. We've got to see them put Howard back in the pick and roll with Horford. And that's the whole reason for having this matchup.
Howard had it slapped away. Here comes Turkoglu to the rim. Howard on the rebound. The game is tied at 76.
And Larry Drew wants a timeout, and I think that's the right decision here because the Hawks have been out of sorts offensively, relying too much on those ISO plays that get them into trouble.
Dwight Howard, 7 of 8 from the field. On Wednesday night, as Philadelphia ended up with, 10 straight points. But Lewis Williams and Evan Turner leading the way. Johnson comes up short. Heinrich looked like he wanted a 3.
Orlando went to his zone here. Out of this timeout. Smart play from Stan Van Gundy.
Heinrich with a rainbow. Orlando can take the lead for the first time tonight.
Well, whatever Larry Drew drew up in the timeout was for a man-to-man defense.
Turkoglu for 3. Turkoglu now 2 for 11. Just under 5 remaining. 4th quarter.
Got to get Horford in a pick and roll situation. Make Howard come to the perimeter.
Smith gets the friendly roll.
Big shot there from Josh Smith.
The Hawks with a 2-point lead. Turkoglu remains at the point forward, using a screen. Now Howard down low, played by Smith. With help, you can see Horford looking to cheat over. And let's see what the call is here. It is a foul on Atlanta.
Really good officiating from Ed Malloy, not falling for the flop from Smith, who actually pulled Howard into him to try to make it look like a charge. Watch the play here. He grabs him and pulls and flops. And good job by Malloy not falling for that ploy.
So Josh Smith picks up number 4. Single covered. Horford moving down low to help. Turkoglu gives it right back. There's Howard, and he's fouled. Dwight Howard back to the line. That's 5 on Smith. Dwight Howard is 10 of 12 at the line after the very quiet first half by Dwight because of the foul trouble. He now has 26 points, 15 rebounds.
He's been spectacular here in the second half. Those early fouls took him out of his groove, but his aggressiveness to start this third quarter really changed the game for the Magic. And 10 of 13 now for Howard.
Jason Collins.
Howard had hit his previous 7 free throws in the second half.
And Larry Drew will go back to Jason Collins for defensive purposes, which will allow Atlanta to cover Howard one-on-one. The problem is at the offensive end. What does Atlanta do? Because they're easier to guard now. You look at the free throws in this series, and this is where Orlando has really had the advantage.
Brandon Bass has checked back in. This time Howard misses on both. Hawks with the ball up by 2. 4 minutes to play in the fourth. Marv Albert with Steve Kerr and Craig Sager from Atlanta. Johnson got the step. Joe Johnson with a beautiful move off the dribble. 80-76 Hawks. Howard out to set a pick. challenge is Collins' offensive foul. A charge. Jason Collins so good at picking up the charging call.
What a great play from Collins, who has had to battle Dwight Howard throughout this series. The ability to slide over, read that play, get his feet outside the restricted area. Just a tremendous defensive play.
Jason Collins in his 10th season out of Stanford. Been 6.5 years with the Nets. Here's Johnson, and he was hacked by Turkoglu.
And you see where Atlanta is going now. The two-man pick and roll at the top of the key between Joe Johnson and Jamal Crawford. And it's causing enough confusion with the Magic defense to allow Johnson to get some penetration into the lane.
Number 5 on Turkoglu, Howard, and Arenas each have 4. Josh Smith with 5 for Atlanta. "13 points for Johnson." Ryan Anderson is back, coming on for Turkoglu, so it's Arenas and Nelson as the guards. And Turkoglu remains. It's Turkoglu up front with Anderson and Howard. Arenas putting those on. Arenas! The follow is missed. Johnson thought he lost Turkoglu. Now Anderson switches off. 10 on the shot clock, just under 3 to go in this 4th quarter. Johnson on the drive. Deflected out of bounds. And let's see what the call is.
It looks like the ball's going back to Orlando, from what I saw. We'll have to get a ruling from the officials, but meanwhile, Atlanta going to Johnson. And looks like Collins knocks it out.
Tied at 76. The Magic scoreless the last 3 minutes. It is Orlando ball as we pick it up. See the time remaining. Hawks have 2 timeouts left. Magic with 2 and a 20. Magic do have a foul to give. Hawks do not. They're over. Howard off the double. The bank too strong, but it comes back to Turkoglu. They have a new clock. Arenas, like Hyder, out there, he's from behind, kept alive though. Here is Nelson from deep. Rebounded by Johnson.
They just can't get a good shot, or they just take babbles. I mean, there was 15 seconds on the shot clock when Nelson launched that thing. He's 2 for 11 now. Turkoglu also 2 for 11. So the Magic just can't get anybody going other than Howard.
Horford with the ball fake. Horford, the tip is missed by Collins. Rebounded by Howard, and the foul is called on Collins. So Howard back to the line with the Hawks over the limit.
Well, Mark, we talked at the beginning of the telecast about some of the keys with this game. The Magic role players, could they step up? Arenas has 18 points off the bench. He's been terrific. The Hawks ball movement, it was there in the first half, has not been there in the second. It's one of the reasons the Magic have gotten back in it. And then the question of who will be missed more, Jason Richardson, Zaza Pachulia. I think it's probably about even. You know, the lack of scoring from the Magic perimeter guys, they definitely miss Richardson, who hasn't really gotten it going. But we know how capable he is. He was spectacular for the Suns last year throughout the playoffs.
Howard had missed his previous 2 at the line. He is the only Orlando player to score in the last 7 minutes. Now 11 of 15 overall at the free throw line.
I like that little pick and roll between Johnson and Crawford that we saw at the top of the circle. Let's see if Atlanta goes back to that on this possession.
82-77 Hawks trying to take a 3-1 lead in this best of 7. Magic trying to tie it up at 2. Here is Johnson with the runner. That's a huge shot with 1:35 remaining. Nelson on the drive. Nelson lays it home.
Boy, have they missed his production tonight. He's been really good in this series, particularly in game 1 when he had 27. But Arenas has been the only Magic guard to really get much going. That's a big hoop for Nelson.
Hawks by 5. Johnson works the clock down. Crawford setting the pick. Shot clock to 3, to 2. The steal by Nelson. Richardson ahead of the field. Here it is, Richardson cutting the lead down to 3, and Larry Drew takes a timeout.
Atlanta tried to go back to that pick and roll with Johnson and Crawford, and Johnson decided to go for the first time. He went away from that pick, and Nelson waiting on that move. Huge mistake. Orlando within 3.
Going berserk at the highlight factory.
The voice of Hawks radio play-by-play man Steve Holman, he of the highlight factory. But Jamal Crawford in game 3 with the big shot. And we're down to a 3-point lead with 1:04 remaining right here. So perhaps a couple of more big shots to go. How about Jamal Crawford? Our statistician Brian Taylor passing on the note that he is the first NBA player to score 20-plus points in each of the first 4 games of the playoffs since a fellow by the name of Kevin McHale back in 1991.
Off the bench, correct? Coming off the bench, I believe.
No. Is that possible?
I'm thinking it's off the bench. It's got to be.
Yes, off the bench.
Yeah. And I would expect either he or Johnson to get the shot here. Now, if you're Atlanta, you can't keep running the shot clock all the way down, to the end. I know there's only 1:04 left, but they got to get something that gives their energy, that gives their offense a little energy and a little boost rather than forcing these long-range shots at the end of the shot clock.
A minute remaining in the 4th. Here is Johnson. Good hustle by Johnson, and Crawford pulls it back. Orlando does have a foul to give. Down to 10 on the shot clock. 35 seconds to the 4th. Crawford for 3, this time way off. Fielded though by Horford. Air ball, 24-second violation.
Oh boy. Once again, I mean, just dribbling 20 seconds out. It's not like you can stall and win the game by running the clock out. You still need to get a good shot. Atlanta really settling.
It is on the line here for the Magic. If the Hawks hang on, the series will be 3-1 in favor of the Hawks as they move back to Orlando for game number 5. And you can see the Magic just 2 for 22 from downtown.
And if anybody's going to shoot one, for me, I'd want it to be Jameer Nelson. I think he's the guy with the most confidence in these situations. Turkoglu has been really out of it in this series. I wouldn't trust him with that 3 at this point. Richardson, we've seen him make a few. But I would think Jameer Nelson and Howard are the guys you go to, but it looks like they're going to bring Arenas up high off the pick and let him handle the ball.
Although Nelson 0 for 4 from the 3, and for the series 5 for 21. Here comes Arenas, and they're not going for the 3, obviously. So they bring it within a point with 22 seconds to play. And that is the foul to give.
Well, smart play here, Mark, from Jason Collins, knowing that he's vulnerable here, and he just runs out of the way. No sense in even risking being involved. Arenas actually pushes him out of the way, but no call, and Arenas lays it in.
Now 21.6 remaining.
And the two guys you want to get the ball to are Johnson or Crawford. Johnson at 80% foul shooter, Crawford at 85, although Crawford missed 2 a few minutes ago.
And now the foul given by Richardson, so that will put Johnson to the line with both teams now over the foul limit. And overall, Johnson 3 of 4. Joe Johnson during the regular season 80% at the free throw stripe. Down to 20.2 to go in the fourth quarter.
Now, Mark, because Orlando got such a quick shot attempt in the last possession, after this free throw, they can call another timeout, advance it, and continue to go for the quick 2. They don't have to go for that 3 yet because they have another timeout remaining after that.
Johnson has the last 8 points for Atlanta. The Magic, Orlando and Atlanta with just 20-second timeouts apiece. Both teams in the penalty. As you look at the Western brackets, Memphis beating San Antonio yesterday, so they have that 2-1 lead. Lakers up 2-1 with the Lakers and Hornets coming up, as I mentioned, from the Big Easy. Moments away. Hawks up by 3. Again, it's Arenas. This time in by Smith. Howard lays it home with 12.4 to go. Down to a 1-point lead. Deflected out by Orlando. Magic with 1 timeout left. Atlanta, 1 timeout remaining. J.J. Redick will check in. Coming on for Dwight Howard. And Atlanta will use its final timeout. So we will step away. The Hawks 86, the Magic 85. We'll be right back. Played on the inbound by Gilbert Arenas, and now Arenas steps away. Foul is given by Quentin Richardson, looking to put Joe Johnson at the line once again. Apparently the ball was not handed to Joe Johnson, so the timeout was called. Therefore, the Hawks were able to advance to the front court.
Otherwise, they would have had to keep it in the backcourt. Now Atlanta out of timeouts, so let's remember that based on what happens in this next sequence. Remember last week in Boston when Ray Allen hit that big 3, nobody seemed to know. Ray Allen and Delonte West chest bumped on the sideline while New York was bringing the ball up the floor. So Atlanta has to understand the circumstances. If Orlando comes down and ties it or even takes the lead, they've got to push the ball and get a shot.
Dwight Howard checks back in. Joe Johnson hitting timely free throws down the stretch.
Well, Orlando with the free throw, with a timeout remaining, and they will use it to advance the ball. So Hawks up 3.
Johnson has hit 6 of 6 at the line in this fourth quarter. And now Stan Van Gundy drawing up a play. And what is the Steve Kerr situation right here?
I think they've done the right thing to now going for quick 2s. Now you got to go for a 3. No timeouts left. So if you go for a quick 2 and you play the foul game, you can't call a timeout to advance the ball, and you may lose your advantage to try to draw up something. Stan Van Gundy very good in these situations, drawing up 3-point shots. So we'll see who he goes to here with the game on the line.
Well, they're 2 for 22.
The options are few.
That's 9%. Not to say that doesn't mean they can hit a 3 right here, but
sure they can. Yeah, but it's not like you've got a couple guys who are feeling it, who are feeling great about what's going on. I still think the most likely guy to make one in this situation is Nelson. Usually it's Turkoglu who likes to shoot off the dribble, but he has really struggled with that 3-point shot in this series. So we'll see what Stan Van Gundy decides to do.
10 seconds to go. Orlando down by 3. Turkoglu lost it. Has it knocked away, able to recover. 3 seconds. 2. Turkoglu for the tie. The Hawks have won it. The Atlanta Hawks take a 3-1 lead over the Orlando Magic.
Marv, I think Van Gundy went to Turkoglu because of his size. He's 6'10". He's the Magic player most likely to be able to shoot over the top of this long Atlanta defense. But the play gets blown up by Horford, who makes a great defensive effort. And then Turkoglu actually gets a decent look. But as we talked about, he's in such bad rhythm in this series that he really never looked comfortable on that final play.
So the series back in Orlando with a Game 5 Tuesday night, and Atlanta with an opportunity to wrap it up. Jamal Crawford led the way for the Hawks with 25. Dwight Howard in foul trouble most of the way, finished with 29 and 17. Thanks to our producer, Scott Cockerell, director Suzanne Smith, our statistician, Brian Taylor. Again, the final score, the Hawks 88 and the Magic 85. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, Craig Sager saying so long from Atlanta. Coming up Game 4 between the Lakers and the Hornets. Let's send it to Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller in New Orleans.